top stories, political parties say urbanization and development in Ethiopia is below standard. And African Union has called for an end to military rule in Chad. Hello and many thanks for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour. With the news, I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. It is quite disappointing for Ethiopia as Egypt and Sudan declined its offer to share information on the second filling of the Gert Reservoir in the coming main rainy season. Both countries, Egypt and Sudan, say they will face serious vulnerabilities if Ethiopia presses ahead with the filling unilaterally and in the absence of any agreement, which Ethiopia considers unnecessary. The Foreign Ministry of Ethiopia slammed Sudan for allegedly changing its position on the impact of the GERD on Sudan's water security during the flood season and criticized Cairo for its lack of appreciation to Ethiopia's generosity in offering to not significantly compromise Egypt's water security. The Sudanese ministry will last resort to file charges to the UN Security Council to protest against Ethiopia's move.
Hi, my name's Brooke Thomas Hafterwind. I was born and raised in the UK. I do not like what the Egyptians are doing to Ethiopia. This is my dam.
It's my dam. It's my dam.
It's my dam.
It's my dam.
It's my dam.
It is my dam. It is my dam.
It's my dam.
I feel very proud that Ethiopia has gotten where she is now, because back in the days, obviously, Ethiopia didn't have many things. It was a poor country, and now it's getting richer and richer because many more educated, smarter people are coming, and people are learning more things that Ethiopia is a very amazing country. We just have to figure it out, and we just have to show other countries that we can be better than America, better than...
And now, to reflect on the stances of Egypt and Sudan against the construction of Ethiopia's dam, here is Zarihun Abebe from the Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs joining us through the phone. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Zarihun.
Thank you for having me.
So, as you're closely following it, Egypt and Sudan appealed the issue of the GERD dispute to the United Nations Security Council as they have been striving to take the tripartite negotiation out of the African Union to the UNSC and other Western powers. What does this mean to you?
Thank you for the question. It's not the first time that Egypt and followed by, of course, Sudan tried to take the matter outside Africa and trying to take it to the United Nations Security Council. And in fact, it seems a norm for Egypt to take matters outside the continent. It tried to take the issue of the GERD outside the tripartite negotiation when Egypt itself, and the current President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, was the chairperson of the African Union. So we are accustomed to such orchestrations. Nonetheless, the issues that are supposed to be discussed by the United Nations Security Council are issues pertaining to international peace and security, especially threats to international peace and security. But if we look at the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, it's a single hydropower dam built by a member of the United Nations. And in fact, Ethiopia is known for its active participation in maintaining and keeping international peace. And it has always been at the forefront in upholding multilateralism. So it's a misplaced approach by Egypt and Sudan. In fact, the GERD as a dam would have been, praised by the two downstream countries as the most important project in alleviating millions of people out of poverty and in electrifying millions of houses in Ethiopia and around the region. If you look at Sudan, for example, currently Sudan experiences almost 12 hours of blackouts per day. But once the GERD is completed, we are interconnected, our powers are interconnected, so Sudan would have been a beneficiary. In any case, the GERD file is now being handled by the African Union. We had our last meeting in the capital city of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Kinshasa, and the Ministers of Water Affairs and Ministers of Foreign Affairs were in a meeting and discussed on the negotiation and a kind of stock taking on where we are. And also understanding was reached, in fact, on the resumption of the African Union led trilateral negotiation. That's one thing. Another, the three countries also reached an understanding on enhancing the role of the observers, that is the Republic of South Africa, the United States of America, and the European Union. So
all right.
This is, we believe, the only option that the three countries have.
So in a recent development, actually in the latest development, a Sudanese Water Resources Minister, Yasser Abbas, announced that they will file charges to the United Nations Security Council if Ethiopia fills the reservoir for the second phase without reaching a binding agreement with Sudan and Egypt. What's your take on this? Because the Sudanese are fluctuating on their stance.
Yes, as you said, the Sudanese are flip-flopping on their position, and we know, the world knows the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is in the best interest of Sudan. In fact, we have a study by the current Minister of Water himself, Professor Yasser Abbas, which clearly concluded in his study that as the highest one dam is for Egypt, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is for Sudan. This clearly tells the benefit of the dam. The minister's allegations on this matter are baseless and unfounded, in fact, because, first and most important thing is Ethiopia is filling the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam because it is right to do so. It is Ethiopia's legitimate right, and it is within the purview of Ethiopia's legitimate share to fill or to go ahead with the filling of the second phase of the first stage of filling the coming rainy season. That's one thing. Second, we have an agreement that we reached as three countries on the 23rd of March 2015, the Declaration of Principles. In that, the three countries are supposed to continue the negotiations for the guidelines and rules on the first filling and annual operation of the dam in parallel with the construction of the dam, which means the construction and filling of the dam are not two separate processes. Rather, the construction and the filling of the dam are not two processes, rather one process. We construct, we build, we construct, we fill. That is how it is. Third, how much water to retain when is agreed, it was negotiated and agreed by the three countries. On the 15th of May 2018, we established what we call is the National Independent Scientific Research Group, composed of 15 scientists, 5 each from the three countries. This team of scientists agreed on the feeding scenarios based on cooperative and adaptive principles. And one of the areas of agreement is when to fill the dam, that is during the rainy season, July, August, and if hydrology allows in September. That's one point of agreement. Another, to retain certain amount of water for the first year. For example, we have reached on the volume of water for the first year 4.9 billion cubic meters. For the second one, 13.5 billion cubic meters. So we have agreed on how much water to retain and when. And very recently, His Excellency, the Minister of Water, Irrigation and Energy, Dr. Seleshi Bakala, sent a letter to his counterparts in Sudan and Egypt, requesting them, inviting them to nominate individuals or dam operators to exchange data and information. We are doing this for the sake of cooperation. All the concerns of Sudan.
For the sake of the time, I'll have to cut you short, but thank you very much for your insight.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Have a great evening. Ethiopian contesting political parties say that infrastructure development and urbanization in Ethiopia is below the standard. They made their remark while debating for the 6th general elections on fundamental infrastructural development and urbanization. Kasahun Janne has the details.
Ethiopian political parties ready for the upcoming national election have held deliberations on primary infrastructure intensification and urbanization. They say infrastructure development and urbanization is below the standard in the country.
Also, it is known that urban centers are source of 60% of the country's economy. It is also known that the nation is following agricultural development. They have forgotten the development of urban dwellers. It is already known that the structure of a government in cities was without any representative. It is based on ethnicity, language, and race, and the cities have been administered with cadres and political appointees. This indicates that the city's dwellers were not considered as a citizen in their country. From this perspective, the election which was better by far was election 97, and the city dwellers respond their disinterest 100% to EPRDF appropriately. In the meantime, today, the successor of EPRDF Prosperity Party has been following a similar wrong way. In the government ownership, infrastructural development institutions will create great interrelated connections with the national investors and on the base of the institutions. We will also work to transfer ownership to the private institutions. We will at the same time support in special conditions to the Ethiopian professionals, contractors, consultants, and we will accordingly capitalize the nation's design and construction capacity vibrantly. We will exert an effort to modernize the nation's infrastructural development that includes the expansion of the new infrastructural development across the country.
Given that the political parties also further stress the corruption and maladministration that brutally prowling across the cities.
When we seriously observe whether the development of the cities, firstly the ownership of the urban land leases and urban land registration is in accordance with the constitution or not, it is an obstacle in order to expand the cities and benefit the urban dwellers to achieve better growth. Rather, it is comfort to the maladministration and didn't interconnect the urban and rural dwellers. And we believe that it is limited with only industrial park expansions. You said so far that there were criminals who hide oil. So where are these persons being punished in the court of the law? Today, the people of Addis Ababa city are leading miserable lives. So as to our party, there is no one, an administrator, who stops these glitches across the city.
Prosperity Party representative on her part stated that her party is undertaking very sweeping reforms to restructure the cities.
A political science researcher and international relations expert at the Dire Dawa University, Surafil Getahun, articulated the need to take voters' registration cards and actively participate in the 6th general elections. The scholar further called upon political parties to play share in bringing about national consensus to help broaden the political space in the nation. Alula Teklamariam reports.
Ethiopia is making preparations for its fast approaching 6th general election. where political parties are campaigning and introducing their policies and alternative strategies. So far, over 18 million people have been reportedly registered in the first round of voters' registration period, which was rescheduled to start on March 25 and lasts until April 23, 2021. But the National Election Board of Ethiopia announced postponement of voters' registration for the country's 6 general elections this year, citing challenges like delayed support from regions and security issues. In connection to this, a political science researcher and international relations expert at the Dredar University, Surafil Getahun, articulated the need to take election cards and actively participate in the 6th general election.
By taking cards so that we can only achieve a democratic form of government. That's, I think, the big challenge. Even though political parties, as a political party, their start is good, and we have observed also how just their participation is okay, but still I see people need to. I encourage people to participate widely by taking the card.
Surafil underscored the role of scholars and scholastic institutions in strengthening the pillars of democracy, citing election as an example.
Scholars need to engage themselves fully, not only in academics way, right? This is part of nation building as well. Scholars need to participate in nation building in different problems, just by eradicating those problems at the same time by conducting research. That will really help strengthen democratic institution. At the same time, scholars, in this country, what lacks, scholars not really participated widely. We see that. So that's, I think, an obstacle for even national state building. So to build a successful state, a democratic state, scholars need to participate widely, right? We see the gap. We need to fill that vacuum, that vacuum, especially that space that's created, So if the scholars are not participating in one country, in a sense, means we can't achieve what we dream, It became a distant dream, So democracy, successful democratization, democratic process, it's a process actually, but really for state building, for successful state, scholars need to participate widely by conducting election, by conducting researches, by publication, help to strengthen government. That will help the government as well as the public in general.
He further calls upon all political parties to play share in bringing about national consensus to help broaden the political space of the nation.
Especially in terms of democratic election, when we conduct elections, there is always loser. At the same time, there is loyal opposition. Those who are loser are really remain loyal opposition. Those who really win the political, the majority vote will be government. In a sense, they can establish government. That is the purpose of political parties. So those are really the losers. Need to accept the election result without going to in different scenarios, right? So this regard, what I advise political parties is, just still we are in process of building democratic institutions. We're still in process of democratization in this regard. We have realized so many challenges. So this is crucial, especially in terms of election is crucial one way. So winning the legitimacy of government. So those opposition in this opposition regard, what I'm advising is, I need to see them really, play their role in terms of bringing consensus, especially because consensus is one of the most important pillars of democracy. So through that regard, we can only achieve our democratic process.
Ethiopia has set to conduct the 6th general elections on June 5th, 2021.
Welcome back. Various media outlets reiterated the United Nations Security Council's statement on Tigray as an internal affair of Ethiopia. The Council released its statement recently, having made thorough follow-ups. Demis Mekria reviews how different media outlets reported this statement. Take a look.
It is to be recalled that the UN Security Council issued a press statement concerning the situation in Tigray just a few days before. Following the release of a statement, different media institutions reported it, ranging from CNN, Reuters, and Voice of America to other local and international media outlets. CNN, in its report, said UN breaks silence on Ethiopia crisis. CNN went further and reported the acknowledgement of Ethiopian government's effort to provide humanitarian assistance and to provide increased humanitarian access, quoting the Council's statement. CNN also states the Council's urge to the Ethiopian government to help aid operations and comply with international laws to restore normality, referring to the released statement. Reuters, on its part, reported saying UN Security Council for first time declares concern about Ethiopia's Tigray, indicating the Council's released first public statement in Tigray's current situation. Reuters said members of the Security Council expressed their deep concern about allegations of human rights violations, including reports of sexual violence. Voice of America also reported the Council's statement saying UN Security Council calls for more aid access to Ethiopia's Tigray. VOA said Council members reiterated their strong support for regional mediation efforts, particularly the African Union and IGAD, and underscored the importance of their continued engagement. Following the statement released by the UN Security Council concerning Tigray, the permanent mission of Ethiopia to the United Nations released another statement, appreciating the Council member states' constructive considerations and continued support. The mission that underscored the operations undertaken to restore law and order in Tigray is an internal affair and regulated by laws of the country, called on international partners to scale up humanitarian assistance just to satisfy humanitarian need in Tigray and beyond.